is winding down, which means it is time to start thinking about your taxes. If you want to minimize some of the pain come April 15th, financial advisor and vice president of Charles Schwab and Company in Albuquerque, Mike Bonds, is here with some simple steps you could take before the end of the year. Good morning, Mike. It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
Yeah, I just want to mention this. You are a financial advisor. You're not a tax consultant. You're not a tax advisor, but it is a really good time to talk to your financial advisor about something that affects taxes, right? And you got to start thinking about this now. I know it's the last thing anybody wants to think of is taxes in December when you got Christmas and all these holidays coming up.
Our expertise falls on the investment side. However, taxes are very important, and they do fall into certain elements of what we do. So some things that you may want to think about this time of the year is just kind of double check your withholdings. So we want to give the IRS our fair share. We just don't want to give them any more than necessary. So check your withholdings. Make sure you're not paying too much or too little. The same if you're a quarterly taxpayer, not too much or too little. It's a great time to consolidate some debt. So get that credit card debt off of the books and put it into some good debt, because you can't write off credit card interest, but you can write off a home equity line of credit, for instance. You may want to, if you've refinanced in the year, you may want to always double check, because your interest that you're paying is going to be less because you've lowered your interest rate. And you get the points. If you paid points, you can write those off.
And you say to prepay state tax payments?
Yeah. You can take your fourth quarter payments and put them, as long as they're paid by December 31st, that goes towards your federal tax claim. You can pay your property taxes very similarly. Generally, most counties will assess property taxes in February and November, but you can prepay your Februaries at the end of December. And you have that tax.
And it gets on the books for this year. And you also say avoid the AMT if possible. For those of us who aren't very good with taxes and stuff, what's the AMT?
Alternative minimum tax has basically been established, and more people are falling into this. If you're not paying enough tax every year, you're going to fall into an alternative minimum tax bracket, and that's going to force you to pay a little bit more. So again, tax professionals are going to be able to determine your itemized deductions and see if you're going to fit into that category. So.
Okay, what else can we do now to try to help with things and to look forward to the new year to make sure we get our, not just our taxes, but our whole kind of financial situation in line?
Well, it's a great time to rebalance your portfolio. So if you've got a plan in place following some of those, it's a time in the quarter to do that. So you want to harvest losses. So basically, 2013 has been a great year for the stock market, and if you've been rebalancing over that period, you have some capital gains.
Okay.
So to offset that, you may want to harvest some capital losses. Nobody likes to get realize losses on their investments.
So when you say harvest losses, you mean actually go ahead and take those losses to help balance things out?
Correct, because they go dollar for dollar against the gains. And even if you create more losses, it can be a blessing because you can carry them forward to future years.
Okay, and you also say consider a cash flow. What do you mean by that?
Well, the cash flow is if you're living off your portfolio.
Okay.
You can create the year's worth of cash now, so that you don't have to sell something at an inappropriate time throughout the year to make that monthly paycheck. You've already got the cash reserved.
Gotcha. Okay, Mike Bonds, great tips from Charles Schwab. Remember, talk with your financial advisor, and in particularly for taxes, talk with your tax advisor as well. All right, great tips. You got a couple of weeks to go ahead and get some of that stuff done. Good to see you, Mike. 728.